G'day fellow skiers. In this video we're gonna learn about long turns in the powder. Actually it's kind of track now. Long turns when freeriding, and that's more specific, which is super rad. You want to be able to do it in any conditions. Let's get started. Here's a little summary of what we're going to learn in this video, which kind of shows how long turns when freeriding is a little different from when doing it on the slope. The first section of this video is going to be about the variable snow condition, how we have to learn to adapt to it. Going to go through a couple of drills to really push you so you become a strong, adaptable skier. Second section of this video, we're going to look at how we need to adapt our skiing to soft snow. Powder snow ideally. We don't have so much of that today, but things you may need to adjust is how much pressure you put on one ski or the other, and a couple more fun things. And in the final section of the video, we're going to look at how we need to adapt our skiing to ski steeper terrain than the typical black run or double black diamond as you call it in North America. Because when you're out freeriding, maybe you want to ski down something 45 degrees, maybe 50, go blasting down it. We're going to talk about how you may want to adapt the phases of the turn in order to control your speed. I know it can be hard to learn from YouTube videos, so why not join one of our freeride camps and really drill in your freeride technique. To deal with swiftly changing snow conditions and changes in the terrain, you need to become an expert of blending nice long turns with short turns. You often see like freeride world tour athletes 100 times better than me have a line similar to the one I'm about to show you here. That you might start the ski line with some short turns, kind of hesitant. You might have some rotational separation, or you might turn fully with the skis, and then you might move towards a drop. You need to slow down a little bit, so you got that technique. After a drop or so, you might want to speed up with some medium length turns with some upper body rotational separation with some spray to shave off that speed. As you move down the face and you feel safer, you might do some blazing fast turns out. We're basically carving the snow more or less squared to the skis. There's a lot of cool techniques going into doing one run. So now we're going to look at how you can learn this too. In order to become adaptable so you can shred lines like that, here's a couple of drills. An important thing to mention here is that you'll need to, with every drill, start well within your comfort zone. Maybe very slowly on predictable terrain like a well-groomed slope. And then as you get better, go to a bumpy groomed slope, go to crappy freeride conditions to push yourself gradually. Drill 1, learn nice short turns. That might sound a little bit stupid for a video called How to Long Turn in Powder, but it kind of makes sense. You need to learn this now so you can do nice medium-sized turns, which is kind of similar to this. So the key with the short turns is that you're rotating the ski to turn across the slope while the upper body points down. And it feels quite nice. Play around with different sizes of the turns and you'll have a nice time. Take drill 1 as far as you can. Do short turns everywhere and make it gradually more difficult. Find moguls maybe to do it in, or track that terrain like here. Because if it's tracked out of moguls, you also have to steer a little bit in 3D there with the short turns. You're quite ready to absorb the knees, extend them depending on the terrain. One of the most common mistakes people do when doing long turns in powder is that because they want to save energy, they kind of have a really straight leg. A straight leg is a strong leg until that strong leg or straight leg has pushed into the back seat because you weren't able of dealing with the bumps. So you need to have a perfect ski stance, slightly bent knees, because when you ski long turns in crud and powder, you need to be ready to hit rocks or avalanche debris or whatever could be under the snow. And the final drill here I like to call the hard way home. Every single time I leave the mountain, I make sure to get 1 to 2 runs of really difficult skiing. I ski on the side of the slope in all conditions. It might be wind blow, cruddy, icy, anything. I do short turns down it, I do long turns down it, I do some airs or wind lifts. I have a great time. I know that this is gonna work on my ability and reaction to adapt to the terrain. And also it's gonna give me some nice endurance and strength in my legs. Because as they say, no sailor became an expert on a calm sea.
A chance to be admired.
Just a friendly, happy reminder that freeride skiing can be deadly. So make sure you know before you go by doing some avalanche training first and have the right equipment, which is always carry a transceiver, shovel and probe in the backpack, and as a bonus, a carry-on bag. Because if more people knew before they went freeriding, we wouldn't have had 45 avalanches involving people in Switzerland yesterday alone, which is crazy. So be careful. So when we're doing long turns down soft, powdery, delightful snow, there's a couple of things you want to have in mind, because powder exacerbate or make your common mistakes even worse. The first thing I have in mind to do nice turns is that I'm careful with the interplay between inclination, which is tipping, and angulation. When you do angulation, you got a lot of pressure in the outer ski, which is generally a great thing. But you don't want to overdo it, because then you're going to put too much pressure on it, maybe it's going to sink. So I rely a little bit more on it, but I still crack in a little bit of angulation. This to keep more even pressure on the two skis. To deal with the somewhat soft snow, you want to have a nice blend of inclining into the turn and having a little bit of angulation so that you're ready to deal with anything. In a couple of my other how to ski powder videos, I've been urging you to narrow the stance between your legs. And that's been circumstantial because I've been thinking you're a beginner intermediate skier, but some of you are going to be better, and then you don't have to do that. The reasons that why I've said that is A, because if you get your skis close together, the pressure between the skis is going to be more even. Plus, it's going to make it easier to steer the skis in unison like such. But you're going to get less good balance, and when you ski long turns in powder, it's less necessary because you're skiing much faster and the snow is then going to feel harder, just like it does for a water skier. You know, water is really soft, you fall through it, but if you go fast, you'll stay on top of it. Today I'm skiing with Carv digital ski coach inside my ski boots. So with that device, I can measure how parallel my skis really are when I'm doing some width turns in this kind of difficult conditions. And I'm going to teach you a couple of strategies on how you can do it too. So they're following in unison like such, and not kind of like such, a little wonky and not so beautiful. Oh, what a cool graph. From left to right, we get time flowing. And if you look at the tops of the graph, it's where the skis are rotating the slowest. That is the transition. And on the steepest part is where the skis are pointing straight down the hill, where they're rotating the quickest. And that is where we can see that my skis are diverging the most, or are the least parallel. So it's in the apex of the turn where it makes most sense to focus on your skis to be parallel. But now I'm going to give you a couple of tips on how we can make your skis turn more similar. Let's be mindful about our hip and what it's doing. Make sure it's trying to follow the length of the skis, pointing straight forward. And that's going to make the skis do what you want them to. Kind of like this. Really think about where the hip is. It's turning with the skis. And if I have some rotational separation, it's in the upper body, above the hip. Ooh, feels quite nice here, despite the tracks. And the hip is following the skis nicely, helping to control both skis in unison. Ooh. Strategy 2 has to do with leverage and strength. Imagine you use a screwdriver, twisting it like such. You're not so strong, nor are you that accurate on how many degrees you're twisting it. Versus if you use a screwdriver and then stick something in it, what are those things called? Spanner, like a spanner. way stronger, way more accurate. Think of the legs in the same way, like this. So if you have a straight leg, you can twist the ski quickly, inaccurately, and is weak. To make it more like a spanner, if you make sure that those legs are a little bit bent and turn in and out, kind of pointing the knee out with some tension in the ankles. That's how you get the spanner's accuracy and strength in. And that's going to help you turn the skis more in unison in your powder long turns. When you're out free riding, it can be much steeper than you're used to, and we might have to adapt how we turn. We often like to talk about the turn as in 3 phases: first, third, second, and third. When I'm carving in the initiation of the turn, so I finish one turn, kind of topple, fall down the hill in the first third. Second turn, I start cranking in some angulation, so I'm putting a lot of pressure on the outside ski. And at the end, you start releasing that pressure by rolling those edges and start the next turn. So when I'm doing the free ride turn, during the first third of the turn, I don't take it as easy, kind of toppling over the hill, waiting for the skis to turn around. I might not have the patience for it because I'm too scared of speed perhaps building up. So I might kind of quickly, on medium long ones, rotate the skis early on, so I'm starting to skid quite early so that I can control the speed. During the middle section of the turn, where I used to crank in a fair bit of angulation, I do it more gently, softly. We don't want to cause any like pressure spike where we just, dumping weight on that outside leg. Everything has to be a little bit smoother. During the last third, you have 2 options. Get steep there, you could finish it basically facing across the slope and just looking down where you want to go, or keep those hips still square, maybe rotate the upper body a little bit down. I find it easy to do one of the sick freeride spray turns when I'm looking down the hill, but you can do it both ways. Both are cool.
If you want to continue learning, check out this video here, or perhaps join one of our ski camps for adults. We do freeride camps, freestyle, and even ski technique. Have a good day and see you in the next one.